want to talk about the incredible strength that it requires to be compassionate. I don't know when it became a world in which we saw compassion as a weakness, but I certainly in my own life have been battling against that kind of stigma in many circles, certainly in my professional corporate job, certainly among my family members, even in religious circles. The idea that I felt empathy towards suffering in another human being, even a human being I don't know closely, was seen as some sort of a strange quirk or a weakness. And I just want to remind everyone who feels things because a lot of the people who are in this circle, a lot of the people who are experiencing discomfort and pain in their bodies in a regular way, they're also people who feel compassion and sorrow and empathy for people other than themselves. Now, I want to talk about the incredible strength that it requires to be compassionate, and most particularly because it requires having to be compassionate with yourself. It requires sitting with your bad feelings. It requires learning to be open, honest, and accepting of your own challenges, but also willing to take in the reality of what's around you and the desire to connect with other human beings. Now, it boggles the mind that this would ever be considered a negative trait or a weakness of any kind, considering that living in groups successfully, living in community successfully, is a hallmark of the survival of the human species over eons. And every evolutionary biologist would tell you the same. Our ability to work collaboratively in groups is why we made it. So the possibility that somehow my sense of connection to another human being is a sign of my own failings to stand up to my own power is so twisted and backwards. I just had to take a moment to come out here and say so because I see you out there feeling what's happening in the world. I see you feeling powerless and unable to stop the suffering, the inevitable suffering that is going to touch so many lives. And I see how this compassion leaves you questioning your own morals and how you can help and how you can contribute. And I just want to say, it just takes incredible bravery to keep asking yourself those questions, to see yourself as being part of a larger community and a fabric of humanity that requires that we lift and support each other up. And it is that courage to be compassionate, to be caring for yourself and others that will ultimately make it so that we do make a difference. We cannot make a difference in this world without caring for each other. We will not have successful movements that change the tide of society, and we will not learn to care for our fellow man without the courage to face our own weaknesses and failings, the courage to see the ways in which we need to grow, the courage to acknowledge the role that our actions play in other people's lives, and then face it with dignity, make a change, and continue to take a step forward. And so many of you are doing all of this in the midst of chronic conditions and discomfort that shows up every single day. You don't have a choice. Compassion for yourself is a matter of survival. And so it's really easy for the world to turn around and point a finger and say that, you know, you're somehow surviving at the whim of other more powerful people. But I'm here to tell you that that is not true. The power that it requires to show up the way that you continue to show up in this community and every community you're a part of, that is something that these weak people who stand behind a lot of bravado but have no ability to show compassion, that's that's the where the lack of power actually is. We have so much power in community. We have so much power in our courage and we have so much power in our compassion, but it starts with being able to see what is good in ourselves so that we can see what is good in others. And I do think that that is a piece of the healing that has to happen, and it has to happen for our own sanity, but also for us to really turn the tide. So take those moments that you need. The fight will continue. It doesn't have to be. And I'm telling you this because I need to tell myself this. The fight will continue whether I am able to meet it on this day, at this minute, or not. And there will always be others to stand in my place. And there will always be others to stand in your place. But you cannot continue this fight without honoring and offering compassion to yourself. So I encourage you to find those moments of self compassion, to honor the strength and the bravery it requires to keep showing up in a world that tells us that we should just shut up and hurt and not say anything about it, and to really see others in our community. Sometimes it's easier to stand up when we are able to turn left and right and identify the opportunities to carry someone else. So maybe that's what we're going to need to do right now is look for the folks who are close to us that need a little holding up, and I'm sure they will return in kind. So to sum up, self-compassion and compassion for others is not a weakness, but a sign of bravery and power, and it is our greatest power as a community, to demonstrate that for ourselves and others. See you next week.